Support for this podcast comes from Frito-Lay and the 2023 Snack Bracket Championship. The Frito-Lay Snack-It Challenge is underway, and fans are voting on their favorite snacks to crown champion. We're talking about prime-time matchups between the best 64 snacks in the land. Will Ruffles Ridges reign supreme? Can Doritos defend their dynasty? Or will Smart Food use their smarts for a surprise upset? Only you can decide. Get in on all the action for a chance to win up to $1,000 or a year's worth of snacks. Let your snacks be heard. Just go to fritolaysnacket.sbnation.com to vote and enter for a chance to win. No purchase necessary. Sweepstakes ends April 3rd, 2023. Void where prohibited. Year's worth of snacks awarded in the form of 52 coupons, each good for one bag of chips. See official rules at fritolaysnacket.sbnation.com.
And we welcome you to this special edition of the Black and Gold Banneret podcast, UCF Rewind. I'm Eric Lopez alongside Brian Murphy. And this one's unique, Murph. On this one, we're doing this episode on WrestleMania weekend. Yes, WrestleMania taking place in Orlando. Not what we were hoping for, Murph, due to the unique circumstances we're dealing with. It is a WrestleMania that is not open to the fans. It's being done in multiple places, including the Performance Center in Orlando, and it's already been taped, so it's already happened, but we're all going to find out this weekend because it's a two-night event, because it's too big to be one night, apparently, Murph. But why am I talking wrestling? Why am I talking wrestling on the UCF podcast here, Murph?
Because we need content, Eric, and it just so happens that a couple of years ago, me, you, and one Greg Lovelady, head coach of UCF baseball, sat down in his office for a solid 40 minutes to talk about the WrestleMania that was in 2017. Remember, for those who don't remember, WrestleMania in 2017 was held at Camping World Stadium. I was there. Eric was there, as was Greg Lovelady, who is a huge wrestling fan. Going to WrestleMania was a dream come true for him. So we want to talk to him about not only his experience at that Mania, but really his life as a wrestling fan growing up. Who did he like? And then what does he think about the current product? And I'll tell you what, and Eric, you can attest to this. He is a true fan. He has been a fan for decades. He'll tell. I think he tells the story in the interview that we're about to put up. That on every Sunday for a UCF baseball home game, Greg Lovelady comes to John Uniata Park with a wrestling T-shirt on. That's his routine every Sunday home game. He is still a fan, and so since it's WrestleMania weekend, we thought, what better time than now to dust off a little bit of a 2-year-old piece?
That's right. So Brian Murphy wrote on the Black and Gold Banneret. It came on April 8th, 2018. Greg Lovelady's Road to WrestleMania. It was his first WrestleMania ever attended. And that was, by the way, kind of backstory. That Mania took place in 2017, which was during Greg Lovelady's, Murph, first season as the UCF head coach, which would turn out to be a phenomenal year. There was not a high expectations going into the season, but UCF would go on to win the American Conference. That was your first year covering Greg Lovelady in UCF.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
And that was tremendous. And it just so happened that they were at home that weekend. So we'll talk. You're going to hear that interview from Greg Lovelady talking about that process of how he ended up going to WrestleMania, his first WrestleMania, and how unique that was. Part of a magical year in 2017 for Greg Lovelady. That will be played here momentarily. Of course, you can follow us on all social medias. Murph, where they can find you?
I'm on Twitter, although I will say I'm not on Twitter as much now as I used to be, which I will say has been refreshing with not many sports going on. But when I am on Twitter, you can find me at _Murphy.
I am on Eric Lopez Elo, and of course you can follow us at UCF_Banneret. All right, Murph. Let's go ahead. So again, the article's there. Where people, I totally encourage you to read the article, but we're gonna play back this interview. Now, this interview took place, Murph. You said it here, April 3rd, 2018. So this was a year later. It was during the 2018 season. It was during the week. Was that? And I'm guessing. I'm trying to remember. Did we interview him literally the week of that WrestleMania prior to? Now that year, UCF was going to go to Connecticut. They played at Connecticut, so he obviously I don't know what he ended up doing watching Mania in 2018. I think he might have watched it from a plane or something. Who knows? But
yeah, I think he did. No, they were on a road trip in 2018, and I believe he did watch it from a plane.
Okay. But so we interviewed him on an off day for this story, talking WrestleMania about 2017.
I'll tell you what, Eric, and the listeners, they won't hear this part, but I believe I'm checking right now. I believe we did interview him on a game day, and because you guys won't hear this, it'll be edited out. But on my transcript of the interview, on my recording, the first question I had to love when I got into his office wasn't about wrestling. The question was, is Cree Finfrock pitching tonight? So
how dare you ask a baseball question?
I'm pretty sure that somehow Greg Lovelady in April, I mean, really the last full month of regular season college baseball, let us come into his office for 45 minutes on a game day to talk about wrestling.
It might have been, in fact, I'll tell you what it was. It was the day they hosted Stetson, which was the top 25 game. UCF won 4-1. UCF.
Who started?
It was a guy named Cree Finfrock. He went 2-0. He beat Joe Gonzalez. Bryce Tucker gets the save. Stetson got a run in the first run. UCF scored 3 runs in the second inning. When you'll get a good laugh. Bernardo hits a 3-run homer, Murph, for the Knights in the second inning.
Bernardo. Yeah.
And then Ray Alejo with an RBI single to left field, scoring a run. UCF would go on to win 4-1. And I remember I was very relieved they won because I was very worried. We were doing this article. I knew we were going to work on it. They were going to play Stetson UConn. I'm like, oh boy, I hope they win here. So we don't want. Oh, they lost. How can you distract? But it worked out, so they won that game.
Well, I'm looking at the box score here. How about Thad Ward? 2 innings, 2 hits, 2 walks, but no runs, 6 Ks in 2 innings. Thad Ward now a top 10 prospect in the Red Sox system. So yeah, that happened before. That happened after we talked to Lovelady, as I'm sure our conversation really motivated him to.
I think so.
Motivate
we should take credit for that. 1-0. In fact, that should be motivation for future years. Hey, Coach, let's talk on the day of a game for WrestleMania because you're 1-0 when we do that.
Undefeated.
That's right. Undefeated streak, which is popular in wrestling. All right, we're going to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to play the interview from 2 years ago with Murph, me, and Greg Lovelady talking about WrestleMania and, of course, his passion for wrestling. This is the UCF Black and Gold Banneret Podcast, UCF Rewind, Greg Lovelady's first WrestleMania here on the Banneret Podcast. And welcome back to the Black and Gold Banneret Podcast. Eric Lopez alongside Brian Murphy, UCF Rewind. We go looking back on Greg Lovelady and his first WrestleMania. Of course, Murph, you wrote about it for the Banneret back in 2018 about Lovelady's first WrestleMania in 2017. But we're going to now air the interview that we had with him in 2018, which goes beyond just talking about that WrestleMania 33 that he was at, right?
No, absolutely. Because, again, Greg Lovelady's life, and sort of verve for wrestling begins at a young age. I mean, he says that he started watching wrestling when he was 6, growing up watching the Rock and Roll Express, and then from there, guys like Hulk Hogan, Junkyard Dog, and then into the 90s where it's the Attitude Era and his love for Stone Cold and guys like that. I mean, he is a wrestling fan for decades, and we sort of explore all of those eras of his life and his love for wrestling throughout his life. And this is a very entertaining listen. So here it is, our interview, me and Eric's interview with Greg Lovelady from 2018, not only about the WrestleMania that he went to in Orlando, but Greg Lovelady's life and love for wrestling.
Well, Coach, obviously last year, now you can clarify the story, as we understand it, after a home game, you got to go to a WrestleMania, which was your first WrestleMania here at the Orlando, is that correct?
It was my first WrestleMania ever. That's been a kind of a bucket list item for me since I was probably like 6. So I was very not shy to selling my soul to figure out a way to get tickets. So probably like the week, I think on Monday, the week of, I started tweeting out like it's WrestleMania weekend here in Orlando. Like
I remember that. Yeah.
I hope I get to go. Like, I'm waiting. Anyone got extra tickets? Like, you know, I'll buy. Like, I was just selling myself to the devil, sort of, like, every day. Like, haven't got WrestleMania tickets yet. Anybody out there? Like, stuff like that. That I was just seriously pimping myself out to get in the building. So, so we played Sunday, and in my post-game interview, they gave me a sheet of paper that said, "Hey, you got 2 tickets. We'll wait for you. We'll call."
Wow.
So,
do you have any idea how you got hooked up, or was it
Mark Daniels.
Mark hooked you up?
Mm-hmm. So, I think Fritz got him for me. So
Fred's producer, yeah, covers him. I'm friends with him, yeah.
So it was awesome. I mean, it was a pretty cool experience. I got there for the main show. I missed all the early stuff just because it's
Sure.
So did everybody else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't see Gronk or anything like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
I saw all the stuff you wanted to see, and it was an unbelievable spectacle. Like, I've never seen anything like it. Just so many people, and just the stage and how the ramp and just what looked like a roller coaster. I mean, it was just.
Where were you sitting?
I ended up. It was funny because so I got there. I just wanted to walk around, like, see different views and all that kind of stuff. My seats were in the upper deck somewhere, and you know, they have that in this citrus booking, whatever it's called. They have those glass suites.
Mm-hmm.
You know
Yes.
what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah, right at the top of the first level. So I got onto the first level, was just walking around, and the show started. Like, I remember I went to go buy my kids stuff, like T-shirts and stuff. So I heard the national anthem playing, so I was like, all right, I better hurry up. And I walked out there just to see it, and it was right there in front of the ramp, like, and got up in there and just going to walk around, and then I just stood there up against the glass, and nobody's in there because they've all gone to their seats.
Yeah.
I stood up against the glass, and nobody said anything, so I just stood there. And watched it from right there. And then Mark Wright was there, and he kind of knew somebody that works for him or something like that, and he was sitting with, like, all the families, which was, like, kind of halfway up right behind the television cameras, like halfway up the lower bowl. So about halfway through, he walked up to go to the bathroom or something. He was like, "Hey, what are you doing here? You're with him." I'm like, "I'm by myself." And he was like, "Oh, there's plenty of seats. There's like 4 or 5 extra seats." So I went down and ended up sitting with them for, like, the last half. So that was a lot better than standing up, because I ended up watching a lot of it up on the screen.
Sure.
Just to be there and see the spectacle and the people there. I mean, the crazy fans.
Oh yeah, and it packed out the whole weekend. Yeah, it was a wild week.
I'm telling stories, like, there was probably 50 people dressed as Ric Flair.
Yeah.
Like, dressed as Ric Flair.
Yeah.
There was probably 50 people dressed as Macho Man. Like, 50
Yeah,
people. Like,
at
I don't
least.
mean, like, these people were, like, full get-up robes.
Yeah.
Like, there was one guy walking in the bathroom, he had 6 belts. He had 2 belts on this shoulder. He walked in the bathroom, 2 belts on this shoulder, and he had 2 around his waist. I'm like, what do you need 6 belts for? And he's just walking around, like,
Just wants to
having the
carry
time
the
of his
belt in
life.
the row.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They had a wrestling, like, these 2 guys got into a wrestling match, like,
Yeah, like a real cordoned off.
it was, like, on the floor, like, wrestling match. Like,
Yes.
referee came in with a referee shirt. I mean, it was like, these people are hilarious. Like, and so it was just funny. I mean, just fun to see the atmosphere and all the crazy fans. And I mean, I'm one of them, but I'm not.
You're even blown away after. But now, have you been to other WWE shows?
Yeah, I've been to a couple Raws and
Okay.
a couple house shows.
So it's just your first
I've never
Mania.
been to a pay-per-view, and that's my
Okay.
first Mania that I've ever been to. And I have Mania, and I don't care about going on pay-per-view. Like, it doesn't. Like, wasn't jacked up. Like, oh,
Sure.
I mean, there may be some that I'd be pretty. I'm sure, like, some Survivor Series. Man, maybe like old school Survivor Series.
Royal
Now it's
Rumble.
kinda changed. Royal Rumble would be, so the 4 big ones would be maybe cool, but like, it's not on my bucket list. But WrestleMania was on my bucket list. And,
Right, and this is like the closest opportunity you could probably have.
and especially when it's during the season, like, you can't go to it.
Right.
It's impossible. Like,
Yeah.
I can't get on a private plane and fly somewhere. I can't get to New Orleans after our game on Sunday and get there before it goes. So to have it here was like the perfect scenario. So
Have you been to like any other shows, NXT shows at Full Sail
I
yet?
haven't been to
Okay.
any of the NXT stuff yet.
Okay.
It doesn't really do it for me. Like,
Right, they're not into that hardcore.
I don't watch it. I don't know anything about NXT.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I probably couldn't name. I could probably pick out 2 people now.
Right.
Like, maybe like a couple years ago when all those guys were coming up, and like when AJ was there, like the independent guys that were big, they were in there. Like, I knew them more just because of stuff that I read.
I think so. We were all there. We were at WrestleMania as well. My favorite part of the show was the Hardy Boy return. What was your favorite part of the show?
Man, I don't know. That's tough. I mean, the Hardy Boys was awesome. I mean, I think the Undertaker, just seeing the Undertaker wrestle, and although
Yeah.
I don't know if it's his last time.
Yo,
No, either. Right
if
now.
he wrestles
After
though,
last night, I don't know what's gonna happen. Like I DVR'd and woke up this morning like.
Yeah, is he here? No, he's not here.
I was waiting for him to interfere with Lesnar and Roman last night. It didn't happen.
No, nothing. He didn't
I don't
show
know
up.
how they're gonna.
I don't know if he's just going to show up as his regular guy and just beat up John Cena. Is that
Yeah,
the
it's gonna
whole
be weird.
deal? It's kind of weird.
Storyline, so. But just seeing him and that whole spectacle and
Yeah, that was
pretty cool.
Yeah.
Did you have a favorite guy growing up? Because if I remember, when you were playing at Miami, was it you or somebody on the team that kind of did the Rock impersonation or something like that during that time?
Well, growing up, obviously, I had a lot of. I mean, the Rock and Roll Express were probably my like favorite. Like I remember me and my buddy. I'm probably in 2nd or 3rd grade. Like he had this room in his house that was probably like maybe slightly bigger than this, and it had like this L-shaped couch, and it had these long, like back pillows, kind of like the backing of the couch, and you could pull them off and make them into a bed.
Sure.
But so they were. I mean, to me, they felt like they were 5 feet tall. They probably were, 3 or 4 feet tall. But they were perfect size for us. They were like our size, so we could like pretend that they were.
Yeah, right, I remember those. Yeah.
So I remember like going in the bathroom and tying toilet paper around my legs and my arms like the Rock and Roll Express, and we were the Rock and Roll Express. But obviously Hogan was huge, and obviously he was a huge Hogan guy. I loved the Junkyard Dog. Like, so I mean, I just loved everything though. Like it was just awesome. So, but then in college, like Stone Cold was my guy. So I had us walk out this glass shower, and they play it here. I tell them stop it. They refuse to.
they told me it's a joke. It's like a.
They know I get so mad. Like they're like, well, one day Alex, what was your walkout music when you were playing? I was like, I had a couple, but Stone Cold was my main one. They played like the Saturday Night Live skit "What Is Love." They'd play that, and then sometimes if I walked, they would play Burke Backrath, "What the World Needs Now Is Love, Sweet Love." I had like those long sideburns, kind of like and I could do the eyebrow thing, so I would do that when I was playing, like mess around with people in the fan.
I remember, I think it was one of those telecasts. I don't know if it was during the postseason or in the World Series, or they think they had you or somebody do that, like doing a Rock impersonation.
Yeah,
like,
I don't remember doing an impersonation, but I used to always do the eyebrow, and I had those long sideburns, which I did say that part of the reason why I did them was the Rock. Like Kerry Lightenberg was a pitcher for the Braves, and then the Rock had kind of, and I kind of went in between the two of them, two different like kind of things. So that was kind of where I got my the ideas for the sideburns thing was from those two guys. So I did say that. But I'm a huge Rock guy because he was a Miami guy.
Right.
So so I was obviously a huge Rock fan in college, but Stone Cold was my guy.
Stone Cold is your guy. So you're Stone. Have you met any of these any wrestlers ever before? Have you run into anybody of note?
It's funny. We used to. When we were at Miami, we used to go fly through Atlanta all the time.
Yeah.
And it was Sundays after the games, and that was prime time for wrestlers to be traveling to Raw.
Okay.
So like, we used to see guys all the time in the Atlanta airport. We saw Mark Marrow and I forget what his wife's name is.
Sable.
Sable, yeah.
Marina.
Saw them one time. We saw Benoit one time. We were on the way to the World Series my senior year. We were in Dallas. We had to fly through Dallas, and they all played a prank on me and told me they saw Stone Cold like 18 gates away.
Oh, no.
And I was like, we're getting on the plane, and I told the coach like, I'll be on the plane, and I was running, and he wasn't there.
And
I came back. I'm the last one on the airplane.
Of course.
The last one on the airplane because they're literally boarding, and I booked it like 15, 20 gates, and got there, I'm looking around, and I didn't see him. I come back, I'm like, I didn't see him, and I get on the plane, and they're all just like laughing hysterical at me.
But this was what year?
2001. Yeah.
But for the World Series? No, this was something else. You said
College World Series.
Oh, College World Series. Sorry.
Yeah, so we're going to College World
So
Series.
yeah, of course. And wow, that's incredible.
Yeah, it was
on your way home.
It was fun. We were on our way to the World Series.
On my way home. Okay, way to it.
Stopped in Dallas, had a layover, like whatever it was, and now we're getting on the plane to go to Omaha, and they tell me, dude, I just saw Stone Cold. He's 32.
Great.
We were down there eating, and we were coming our way. It's 32, and we're like at 15, and I'm like, no way. And they're like, I swear, dude, it was him. And I'm like, I'm gone. I'm running.
So here's one man running through the airport by himself for nothing. For nothing.
I get there, I'm like looking around, like I don't see him. People are boarding. I'm like, he must have got on the plane. Like, I'm literally looking. I'm like, I'm gonna miss the flight to Omaha. Like, then I run back and literally like I'm the last one on the plane.
Yeah.
Like,
Are they smiling at you?
They're laughing. They're laughing hysterical when I get on because I'm like, he wasn't there, and they're all like, he wasn't there. Like, we knew he wasn't there. But
oh my God.
Bill DeMott
Yeah,
Hugh
Sure.
Morris, obviously, is a huge, but it coaches my kid. He's a really good, like one of my best friends now here in Orlando. So
Yeah.
I see him all the time. And they all make fun of me, the parents on the team, because we'll all go out to dinner, like, and we go to our kids' game in the fall on Saturday, and it's 5 o'clock, and we're like, all right, let's go to Ale House, and the whole team goes. So there's 20 parents and 30 kids, and I'm in the end. Me and Bill are at the end of the table, and I'm just like, what was this guy like? What was this? You know, I'm just grilling him on questions,
Yeah.
and like, you know, and all the parents were like, oh my gosh, you're like all up in his stuff, and I'm like, I know. So we talk about wrestling all the time. So I'm trying to think if I don't think I've met any other wrestlers. Like, I never got a chance to, like, other than Bill. Like, Bill was the first guy I really met that I got a chance to talk to, that, like, I grilled them on.
Well.
Just the lifestyle and the backstage stuff, and just, I'm intrigued by all the backstage stuff. Like, I love
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Everybody, I think everybody
yeah,
is.
just to know what the life is like, and just how it runs, and, you know, kind of the culture, and just because there's a lot of downtime, and, like, what do they do back there? And, like, you got 3 hours till you're on, like, the show's going.
Right.
You're not
Yeah.
like, what are you doing? And
You're going from city to city.
now, at Wright State, we used to, I mean, I'm such a groupie. At Wright State, so our offices were in the basketball arena. And so Raw would come twice a year, SmackDown, house shows would come probably 4 total times a year.
Right.
And they would take over. Like, it was even frustrating because they'd come in like a January or February when it was snowing, and the basketball, like the auxiliary gym, which is like the basketball practice facility, there was 2 auxiliary, like for classes, PE classes, they would take that over as food and stuff like that. So we wouldn't be able to practice. Like, we'd be like, oh, it's 2 weeks before opening day for you guys. Sorry, like, wrestling's here, you guys can't, you gotta find another place to practice. And we're like, what? But it was awesome because they, you know, so outside our offices was a long hallway to the bathroom, and then there's like these rooms you could rent out, like for weddings or things like that, like conference rooms, and that's where they would hold all the executive meetings all day. So like, I'd go to the bathroom like 1,000 times because, like, hoping that, like, Triple H or McMahon would
Right,
go to the bathroom,
sure.
and at the same time I'm in the bathroom. Like, one time I was in the bathroom and somebody was in there, and I can't remember if it was like Pat Patterson or Briscoe or something like that, and I was like, oh my god. I never had, like, I saw Triple H once. Like, usually they had the doors closed because, you know, it's also top secret.
Sure.
Yeah.
It's changed a lot maybe in the last 5 years, but I was walking by there and I looked in and I could see Triple H standing right at the door, like with Briscoe or somebody.
Right.
I knew, and I was like, oh my god, like, go to the bathroom. And then downstairs in the equipment room,
Yeah.
I'd go downstairs, which is where you could walk into the arena, like the ground floor of the arena, and our equipment room was right there. And so, like, they'd all be walking in. I could see them coming, you know what I mean? Like, so they'd be walking all around.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my god, that's this person, that's this person. Like, so you saw some pretty big time dudes, and I could go up top and watch them put the just to see the whole, how it all got put together.
Put together, yeah, the ring.
And not knowing what it was all about, now knowing what Gorilla looks like, they're building this, like, look like a office. I'm like, but they built it on the opposite side of the ring, or like the entryway, and then you had the ring being put together with the lights, and then you had this, like, this wood. It was wood. So you're like, what, why are they doing, like, are they doing like some soap opera skit in there?
Wood,
They're gonna
yeah.
have tape or something like that, and then coming back up and then realizing that once they lifted the lights before they put the ring down, then they slid that, which was Gorilla. They would just slide that up into a spot, and then they build the ramp based off. You know what I mean? So it's just like not knowing that. And
Right.
now putting 2 and 2 together. Now that I know kind of more about the inner workings and all that kind of stuff. So, but just being able to see them set it all up.
Yeah,
seeing
no,
the
it's pretty
referees
cool.
set it all up.
Yeah.
And seeing people, like, practice, like,
Do the rep, yeah.
at 2
get ready.
o'clock, 3 o'clock, there'd be like, I remember seeing Alberto Del Rio's the guy that was like his manager. I can't remember his name.
Oh, yeah. I know who you're talking about. Rodriguez or
Yeah,
right,
the guy
so-
that do the ring announcing.
Yeah.
And then he's with and I can't remember who it was now, but it was a girl. And they're just in the ring, like, doing a bunch of just, like, arm, like, take
Drags,
arm drags, but they had, like, it was almost choreographed, but it was almost like this was like a thing that you learn, you know what I mean? It was just like they were doing the same thing, and then they would just get out of it and reverse it and do all this stuff. And they just went through, like, 10 minutes. I was running the stairs, and you know, sometimes the security would be like, miss me, and I'd go, because we would run the concourse when it was cold.
Yeah.
And then I could run up and down the stairs and get a workout in. So I'm working out, and I just sat there, like, up and, like, halfway up, and just watched. And there was a bunch of people in the ring talking and doing different things and doing different stuff, and it was just really cool to see, like, them training. Like, it was really interesting. So I'm trying to get over to the Performance Center just to see what that's all about.
Yeah, no, it's good. Like when I've gone to the NXT shows, it's funny you mentioned 'cause they go eat at Ale House right next to it. So I would one time when I went there, it's like Dean Malenko is eating dinner. Like, whoa, Dean Malenko. It's like, do I want to bother him? No, it's like
I wouldn't bother anybody.
No, I didn't bother anybody. And then,
but yeah, it's crazy.
Is that something you could see yourself doing on the side? A little like teaching me how to do some moves and stuff like that.
I mean, I've talked to Bill a lot because Bill's talked about like maybe opening like some guys have come to him about, hey, because he used to run the performance center, he built the performance center,
right?
Like, and he's kind of been like, I've had some guy like this Asian guy or something, bankroller, wanted to open up a camp, like a wrestling school, and he wanted Bill to run it, and Billy Gunn and him and Billy Gunn are like best friends, so. And he's like, I just don't know if I trust the guy. He did one in Atlanta, and it really hasn't done well. And this is what I would want to do it. And I don't think it's too much money, and blah, blah, blah. But I'm like, dude, do it. Like, get that ring.
Right.
Me and you, like, every Monday, like, well, I'm in there. Like, I want to be in there. Like, I want to take some bumps. Like, so I've been trying to, I don't know if I would do the performance center, like, because it's not his center. Like, hey, can we jump in the ring? Like, I feel a little bit weird. Like,
so if you went into wrestling, I'm assuming you would rather be a wrestler than a manager or anything. You'd be a wrestler. Who would you be? What would be your persona? Like, who would you compare? Yeah, to anybody.
Dude, Love is already taken.
Yeah.
It's already taken.
I don't know. I never really thought about like having a persona or like if I had my own persona or whatever.
Well, who would you try to be like? Kind of. Would you try to be like a Stone Cold? Would you be like kind of the person, like or would you be like a Paul Heyman? Maybe you would be somebody like that would be the mouthpiece for a wrestler.
Yeah, I don't know. I've never thought about it. I mean, I'm not a bad talker, so I think I could do it, but I wouldn't want to be in the ring. And
okay.
So I don't know. I couldn't probably be as brash as Stone Cold, but somewhere between him and Cena, like a mixture maybe.
Okay.
Are you more of a high flyer or a grappler?
I would want to think that I was a high flyer, but there's no way that I could do that.
Just catching.
I can't even do like a back. So Bill, when we were at a hotel this summer with All Stars, like with our kids, I was trying to desperately get him to do no laughing matter, which is off the top rope moonsault off the top rope. I was like, dude, I'll lay in the pool. And you do it off the edge of the pool, and dude, this will be the highlight. Put it on YouTube. Like, we got to tape it. Dude, this will be the highlight of my life. And he just laughed, and he wouldn't do it. But he's like, I said, could you still do it right now? And he's a big dude. And he's like, yeah, I can still do it. But I'm like, I can't even do a backflip off like the diving board. Like, so I'm like, what am I gonna do off the top rope? Like, drop an elbow, maybe, like something like that. Like, that'd be the highlight of.
I would say that would be a pretty good recruiting take, though.
Yeah,
that would get some kids in here. Though.
Yeah, that's why I've been trying. So maybe one day, like I told him, like, I'll take it off the top rope. Like, I'll wear it. Like, it's gonna hurt like crazy. You're like 360 pounds, but I would do it. Just to, like, to have it on YouTube.
As long as he knows how to fall.
Dude, this is the coolest thing I've ever done in my life. I just took no laughing matter off the top rope.
Wow. So do you plan to like DVR WrestleMania and then try to watch it at some point Sunday night or Monday?
Sucks. Like, I'll be honest with you. There's few things like when the schedule comes out, like. There's a few things that I'm always like looking for, and one of them is like, what are we doing on WrestleMania? Like, am I on the road? Am I gonna be able to get home and see it?
Yeah.
So I'll probably watch it on my phone. I got the WWE Network, so I'll be watching it on my phone on the. I mean, we're flying JetBlue. I've never flown JetBlue before, so I don't know what their Wi-Fi is like, but I'm praying that they have Wi-Fi.
They should have Wi-Fi with them. I know they have TVs too. I mean, I don't think that'll help you from the WWE example, but they should.
I'm hoping they have Wi-Fi so that I can watch it on the plane.
You haven't. I would assume you have not missed WrestleMania at least watching it since maybe when.
No, to be honest with you, like early on, like I still remember. I remember one time going to a buddy's house. His parents let him buy it sometime in elementary school.
Okay.
There was a lot of WrestleManias that. I mean, I remember going to Blockbuster Video and getting the WrestleManias.
Yes, I did that. Yeah.
Or months or years after. My parents never would let me buy the pay-per-view. Like, no chance in hell. So, like, I had to watch it on. I remember going to Blockbuster Video and like going and.
Yeah, that was like a big deal when it came out. Ooh, there it is.
Yeah,
There's the cover page.
WrestleManias, like, and going home and watching them, and and whatnot. And back in the day, obviously, it was harder because there really was no internet. I mean, I'm growing up, there's no internet, so like you weren't getting what was going on and all that kind of stuff. And they never show you like live, always the still photos.
Yeah.
Try to get you to go buy it or whatnot. So, and even then, then in college, they had a Ratskeller, which was like the on-campus like bar in Miami, and they would play every pay-per-view. So me and my buddy, we were there at every pay-per-view, like laughing. The people, again, this was like microcosm of what 100,000 people were like. This is 100 people, and there's people. I mean, everyone's like in this bar is, you know, saying everything that's going on. You know what I mean? Like when Angle comes out, they're chanting, "You suck," and when Paul Heyman comes out, like they're doing everything, and I'm like, oh my god, like what are these people doing? Like they were into it, like, and I wasn't like that. I mean, I loved it, but like I wasn't screaming in the bar, like.
You weren't getting.
I wasn't getting like, you know, people were coming not dressed up, but like wearing their stuff, like just t-shirts and stuff,
wearing their gear
and whatnot. So
you don't have any wrestling shirts or gear stuff like that, right? You don't have. You're not one of.
Oh, you smile on his face.
So, Old Navy last year came out with a bunch of like these retro t-shirts.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so, we were home for Thanksgiving in Ohio, and my buddy, we just had, like, we went over to a friend's house, and a couple friends came over that we had, obviously, we were missing and stuff, and he came on, and he's like, dude, I stopped at Old Navy and bought this Ultimate Warrior t-shirt.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, oh my God. And so, that was like Thanksgiving. So for Christmas, my wife had gone and chased down, so they had the Ultimate Warrior, Ric Flair, and Macho Man. So I had those 3 t-shirts, so I rotated them every Sunday at home games last year. Yeah, so I rotated every Sunday. I wore my wrestling shirt to the games. So then,
like underneath your uniform?
No, I just wear it to the field. Like,
Okay, yeah.
Like normally I'm wearing this to the field.
Sure.
So, but on Sundays I would just wear.
What would be the players' reaction as they say?
You know, half the time I don't think they saw it. Like,
Okay.
But I walk in, I come in here, I do my work, I go in the locker room, I put my practice clothes on, and go out take BP. So half the time I don't think they ever saw it. And then Ted, my assistant, his whole family is diehard wrestling fans. His wife too, and they know I'm a diehard. Obviously now that we've been together. So for either Christmas or my birthday, I think it was Christmas, there's this place online called Homage, HOMAGE.com.
Okay.
And it's this like retro t-shirt making company in Columbus, Ohio. And so I got this like Shawn Michaels WrestleMania shirt.
Goodness.
I can't remember. So I bought like 5 of them. So she got me one. I think I bought 3 of them. And there was like, I got some like coupon or something. It was like, if you spend $60, and I bought. So I was like, I just want to get 2 more. I bought 2 more, and it was like, spend $5 more, you get $20 off. I was like, well, that's like free then. Like, give me another one. Like, so I'm like such a child, man. So like, I've got like 8 of them now, and I wear them every Sunday.
Did you buy like any WrestleMania shirts from the WrestleMania last year? Like I bought.
I didn't buy a WrestleMania shirt.
Okay.
I didn't buy anything for myself. So
Okay.
I bought a John Cena shirt for one son, and my youngest one actually loves wrestling. He's 5. He actually is the one that you can come in here and he's pretty good. Like he knows what's going on.
He can detail, huh?
Yeah, he can talk wrestling. My oldest one knows, but so he wanted he loves the New Day, so I had to get him a uniform.
The New Day, yeah.
Get the unicorn.
And then we went to the SmackDown here at Amway a couple months ago in January.
Yeah.
So I had to buy one of them AJ style gloves. They went with me on that one. Bill got us tickets. So AJ style gloves, and I got my other one a Cena shirt. So now both of them have Cena shirts.
So whenever there's either a Raw or a SmackDown here in Orlando, if you're here, you're going.
I'm trying to,
Yeah.
do whatever I can. Yeah.
Any players on the team that kind of can
Bill came and
converse?
spoke to the team.
Okay.
He's got a foundation. His daughter was a UCF student and died by a drunk driver. So he goes around and speaks to high schools now just about making good decisions, and it's really cool because I didn't tell the kids like what was going to happen. So I just told them who he was, introduced him, and he kind of does a really good job of. He posts pictures of him against Hogan, and he posts pictures of him wrestling and all this kind of stuff, and it's so cool. And then he gets into some other deep stuff.
Sure.
But we said we could ask questions, and there was a handful, about 3 or 4 guys that stayed afterwards that asked him a ton of questions. So I can't remember all of it. It was Jackson Webb and Max Wood. I don't remember 2 of those guys, but they were just asking questions like, what was it like to wrestle? Did you know this? Those kind of questions that they kind of grilled him with afterwards. So I don't know. It's weird. As many fans as there are for wrestling, like I'm shocked there's not more on the team, but I don't know.
Yeah.
I would say probably 3 or 4 guys like know even what's going on.
Yeah. No, that's fair.
But Ted and I know everything that's going on.
That's
hilarious.
Pretty good. That's wild.
It's
That's
crazy.
fantastic.
I just did a podcast for the ABCA, like our coaches thing, and it came up, and I was like, they asked me any hobbies. I'm like, I don't have time for hobbies, but I'm a diehard wrestling. I can't believe I said it again. I've never been a closet fan, but like I don't really like go great. Like somebody's gonna want to what you like professional wrestling, but I've been more open about it.
There is that's why the reason why people don't really talk about it, because like there is a sort of statement like, why do you like this sort of fake male-driven
My
soap
wife was yelling at
opera?
me last night.
Was she really?
She's like, can you just go watch somewhere else? Like, I'm trying to go to bed, and I'm like, The Undertaker might be back on. Like, and I'm trying to wait. Like, usually I don't watch it.
Right.
I DVR it and I read it on Bleacher Report, and if something cool happens, I'm like, I need to see that.
Right, yeah.
Before I delete it,
Right.
especially if anytime nostalgic stuff happens, like I'm all over it. Like,
Sure.
I love the Hardys coming back. I love when like WrestleMania time or something like that. When like when the Ultimate Warrior came back to get inducted in the Hall of Fame.
Hall of Fame
I love that
every
stuff.
weekend.
Like I just love seeing when people come back and like make a one-time.
Yeah, I mean, I got to go to the Kurt Angle Hall of Fame ceremony last year. That was
So that stuff just nostalgic because it's just.
Yeah.
I mean, my biggest time was in the late '90s and early.
Right, that's where everybody was. The Attitude
I was
Era.
huge early, like when I was 6, and then like I was watching every Saturday and like into it and
Right.
trying to figure out. I mean, my dad just brought 2 boxes of wrestlers that I played with like.
Oh,
all the time.
geez, little
Like,
figurines.
the figurines that they're like made out of rubberish.
Yeah,
material.
yeah.
Wow.
Like not like the ones now that actually move. These are
Right.
like stuck in their position.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've
They're
had
like-
a couple of those,
they're
yeah.
Kind of, you can't move them, but like and dude, they have marks like all over them. Like from the guy has a black boot and he's obviously like pale colored, and I'm banging on him, and now he's got like black marks. Like all these guys look like that, and he found them in the attic. And brought him to me a couple weeks ago, so my kids are all jacked up. They're, who's this? And my youngest one's like, that's a Junkyard! Because he goes on, they know how to get on YouTube and Google all this stuff, and say it's Google wrestling stuff. And so my oldest one, my youngest one, like knows, like I can ask him a lot of the guys, like, who's this? And he'd be like, oh, that's you watching it.
That's smart, yeah, 'cause especially with social media and stuff. Like, I remember I had a friend of mine, he was doing Stetson baseball the year that The Undertaker lost at WrestleMania for the first time. But he didn't want to know the result. So he's in the bus with the team. They were busing back from wherever, and all of a sudden the guys in the bus like, oh, do you believe what just happened? And he's like trying to like duck. What are you doing?
Yeah.
And but he wouldn't even think about the Undertaker losing. It was the last thing in his mind.
Yeah.
He's like, do you want to know what just happened? He's like, no. And then he got home like around 1 a.m. and he watched it. And he told me he was like brushing his teeth, whatever, like in the morning. And then when the Taker got pinned, he's like, what? He had to watch it like a second time. Everybody was like shocked.
That's
Yeah.
crazy. I watched that one live. I still remember it. I mean, I was shocked. Couldn't
There-
believe it. That was who they. I don't like Brock Lesnar, so
Nah.
I hate part-timers.
Yeah. Well, the Taker's kind of been a part-time.
Yeah, but you know what? Like he's earned it.
He earned it.
Like
Right?
Lesnar just
Yeah.
like earned it because he was a UFC like dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I don't know.
But yeah, I remember that was, he told me that story. He was kind of like that. The whole baseball bus was like, oh, because they were watching it in
Yeah.
there. And it's like, what the?
The network has been like
Oh,
Yeah.
lifesaver, man.
huge, man.
It's a lifesaver. You can watch it whenever you want. That's the beauty of it. Like,
And I don't watch it as much as I want. I thought I'd watch it way more, and I
Right.
haven't. Obviously, I went back and watched all the Tough Enoughs with Bill, just to see what he was like.
Mm-hmm.
that's
I
right.
remember
Bill was in that. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Watching
Yes.
it, I remember watching it, but I just didn't know who. I mean, I knew who he was, but like it was
Yes.
just some guy named Bill DeMott, and he was kind of tough on the guys.
Mm-hmm.
But then knowing the stories and talking to Bill, like Bill's like coaches our kids. Like there's no one in the world I'd rather coach my kids. Like he's like this teddy bear. Like treats the kids like the kids love him. Like and he's not. And he's like the most opposite of what he was on Tough Enough. And he told me like he's like, look, that's how I coach. That's how I was coached. And that's how
Yeah.
I always coach. But now he's like, I don't really know a lot about baseball, and he's just kids. Like he just gets it. So
Wow.
it's just different to see him. So I went back and watched all those just to see him on there.
Cool.
I'll pull up old matches just when I'm bored.
Just his old managers, yeah.
So if you don't like Brock Lesnar, does that mean you want Roman Reigns to
Yeah,
be?
I love Roman Reigns.
Oh,
I'm a
really?
huge Roman Reigns guy.
Dude still got 3 moves. That's all he's got. But you know.
I love him.
Okay.
I just watched. I've gotten into the 24,
Yeah.
Sure.
and I just watched the Seth Rollins one last
Yes.
week, and it
Yep.
was so good. Like,
Yeah,
I'm
he's
a big
good.
Seth Rollins.
He's a
I've
great.
interviewed Seth. He's good, yeah.
I love all the stuff. I didn't love the Shield like just because like they were bad, but now I love.
So you like them
I
individually?
love Ambrose now.
Okay.
Now they're all like good guys. Like, I don't know,
Okay.
it's easier to like. I love Ambrose. So, I'm a huge Daniel Bryan fan.
Oh, how excited is that? He'll be
Jacked
back.
up about it.
Can't wait for that.
I don't like the bar. Like
No.
they don't do anything for me. Usos don't do anything for me.
So you like of the current guys? You like Reigns, Bryan, Rollins.
Ambrose.
Styles? Your Styles guy?
Style.
Yeah, I like him. Like, I mean, he's good. Like,
Okay, but it doesn't jump out.
people say he's the best in-ring performer, and like, I don't see it.
Okay.
Finn Balor.
Finn Balor's
Yeah, I don't know.
alright. Yeah, he's alright. Kind of a
See,
cool push.
see, for me, it's more like mic work. Which is like one of my favorite wrestlers is Alexa Bliss.
Yeah.
Because she's so good on the mic.
She's
And,
just great. Her the facial expression.
oh, she's got that down. That whole like I have nothing to
It's
do
funny
with
'cause
you.
I read an article with her that talks about how like she's like the nicest person,
Yeah.
but her persona is
Completely
Perfect.
completely different. That's pretty good acting that she can.
Yes.
Be, you know, the easiest is if you're the same person. Stone Cold was kind of like that
Yeah.
off the.
Right, he just kind of amped it up.
So he just kind of was himself and
Yeah.
And then took it to another level.
took it to another level. But it's very similar. Like,
Yeah.
It's hard to. The Rock is the same way. He's like that
Yep.
cocky. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's easy. It's different when you're like, you know, you're just a normal person. You got to act like a crazed. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
that's got to be like I don't know how Matt Hardy does.
Yeah, he's kind of weird.
The whole thing.
He might just be a
not
little
into
weird.
that. I'm not into that. I, never,
Yeah.
I don't follow anything. Like I don't watch TNA. Like, I don't,
No, I don't
Yeah.
want
So I don't. I mean, I've seen stuff about that whole character, but like I
What
don't.
about Jericho? You like Jericho at all, or?
You know what? I was never a Jericho fan until the whole list thing. Like, that was ingenious. Like that was the funniest thing that was one of the funniest things. It just kept going.
Yes.
Like you think like a couple times like how funny, but like I would laugh at it like. And I would just wait, like I can't wait till
You're waiting,
he
yeah.
his list.
He reinvents himself. I mean, he's reinvented
So
himself.
I didn't love like back in the day with like the long hair,
Right.
the Y2J, and the lighting up, like that stuff. Like didn't do it for me. Like he was whatever.
Right.
But
great.
this new Jericho was
Yeah.
hilarious. I love Kevin Owens. I think he's
I've interviewed him. He's a great guy. Yeah.
great heel.
Fantastic heel.
Gets it.
Sami Zayn's fine. They work well together.
Yes. I'm looking forward to that match. That's probably.
I love all the girls. I think they do a great job.
Yeah.
The division
Yeah.
is so good.
All right, so this is our conversation with Greg Lovelady from 2018, talking about wrestling, going through all of his childhood favorites, and then listing a couple of guys like Seth Rollins and Daniel Bryan of the current crop that he really enjoys. Obviously, those guys will be fighting this weekend at the Performance Center, and I had the opportunity to talk to Greg about 2 weeks ago. Because I wanted to sort of get his reaction regarding the cancellation of the rest of the baseball season. Obviously, UCF baseball was off to an amazing start, 15-3. But at the end of our interview, when we brought up a number of topics, I had to ask him what he thought about WrestleMania this year being played in an empty arena just off of East Colonial
Yeah.
here in Orlando. And I thought, I think he is feeling the same way that you and me, Eric, and any other wrestling fan are feeling. It's just weird. And he mentioned the word weird and surreal a number of times. And I thought he brought up a good point in my talk with him. He said, you work so hard for your WrestleMania moment, and your moment is going to be in the Performance Center, which is so true. I mean, for some of the guys on the roster of WWE, this could be the one time they have a real showcase match at WrestleMania. And it's going to be in a small, vacant arena, not even, let's not call it arena, a small, vacant building, and not a stadium-wide arena, which is usually what these things have been held. And, like you said, it's just surreal.
It really is. And for people, I know some people don't like wrestling and whatever. If you've been to a WrestleMania, even if you're not a wrestling fan, it's an amazing event to be at in person. It's enormous, right? It's like a Super Bowl. I mean, it's got the glamour. I mean, it's an amazing event. And you and I, as we mentioned, we were there with Greg at WrestleMania 33. We were all in the same building. I've been to both WrestleManias that have been in Orlando. I was here at WrestleMania 24. That took place at 2008. It's a huge event, and it's a big event for that city that's hosting WrestleMania. So it's unfortunate. You're right. I mean, a situation like one of the matches on this year's Mania, Drew McIntyre fighting for the Universal title against Brock Lesnar. This is like his biggest match and his biggest moment of his professional career, and it's going to be in an empty arena, and that's kind of unfortunate. but it just is what it is. So we'll see what happens with that. Now, you mentioned you talked to Greg. Now, unfortunately, due to the circumstances, we didn't try to reach out recently to Greg. I mean, there's a lot going on. Obviously, the D1 council and things like that. But the only reason I bring that up because if we were in a normal circumstances, this weekend UCF would have been hosting Wichita State,
Yes.
and then WrestleMania would have been at Raymond James Stadium. And I know we had talked about he wasn't sure if he was going to be able to go or not because UCF was playing on Sunday, but I know you were planning on going, and I think, Greg, I listened to him with our buddy Trace. You know, hey, who knows? He joked about maybe I would have gone if somebody hooked me up with tickets. So that would have been interesting to see if he would have gone on and done that and maybe taken somebody like Ted Tom on the staff or not.
Possibly, I don't know. I mean, I know there's some guys on the team that probably like wrestling. The one thing that was probably in his favor was that Sunday game is actually a noon start, not a 1 o'clock start. So he would have got an extra hour. So let's say it's maybe only a 2.5 hour game, you know, and speed some things along, and he gets out of town by 3:30 or so, and maybe he gets there, you know, for a good portion of the show.
Was that your plan? Was that going to be your plan?
Well, I had yet to buy my ticket because I was still wrestling. This is no pun intended. Sorry. I guess so. Well, there's a pun intended. Screw. I take it back. I didn't know whether or not I was going to go to the event, but I was definitely thinking about it, and I had people in my ear sort of telling me what I could do or how we could figure this out. So I was still thinking about the time. I did have lots of friends from out of town, from out of state who bought tickets. We're going to be here for that. And, well, we're all out of luck, aren't we? But at least, you know, as I mentioned to Jeff, not to Jeff Sharon, God, my mind's everywhere. As I mentioned to Greg Lovelady, when I talked to him a couple weeks ago, WrestleMania is really one of the few sporting entertainment events that has not been postponed. Yeah, it's venue changed and shuffled around, and it's going to be very different, but at least it's kind of going on as scheduled, and at least we have something to look forward to, and that's in this time. That's at least nice to have. Yeah,
and you know, we didn't reach out, so we didn't ask him for his picks, but he's very good at picks, right? Because earlier this year, right? What was it? Was it Media Day or whenever you asked him about the Royal Rumble or something to that extent, right?
Last year's Royal Rumble, the 2019 Royal Rumble. Yeah.
Oh, that's right, 2019. He nailed the Seth Rollins, and then people criticized you, Murph, on social media because you had an interview with him and you didn't bring up the Royal Rumble this year. They're like,
right, and so people did, and so I brought it to him on Twitter, and I don't know why my voice just cracked as if I'm going through puberty again. Oh my God, hold on. The basketball games, I believe the Royal Rumble was that weekend of January. And so I was in Wichita for a basketball game, and so he hit me back. He hit me back on Twitter, and I asked him, like, okay, who's your pick? And he said Edge ? Now, for those who don't know, Edge was a very, very, very famous wrestler who, in the late '90s and all throughout the 2000s, the aughts, was one of the company's biggest stars, who then had to retire in 2010 or 2011?
Yep.
Eric.
Yep.
2011.
It was after WrestleMania 27. After WrestleMania 27, he beat Alberto Del Rio, and then about a week later he announced he had to retire because of a neck injury.
Yeah, Edge had to retire because basically his spine was at a point where if he took another, sort of risky dive, he could end up paralyzed. So he ends up retiring. He would come back to the company every now and then to do like spots and promos, but he never wrestled until there was rumors going into the 2020 Royal Rumble that he might come back. And so Lovelady suggests Edge, which is one thing in itself, like, oh, okay, that'd be awesome. And then Edge comes back, which, by the way, if you just watch it for the crowd reaction, it's emotional because of the noise and the response he gets is amazing. He comes back, he's in the match, and Edge almost wins the thing. He ends up being in the final three, I think. He was
Final four, Final three, Final Four, which, a lot of people play the Royal Rumble game. That's a big number. If you're in the top three, top four, that's a big deal. So that's
him, Roman Reigns, and Drew McIntyre, I believe, were the final three.
And nobody really knew officially if Edge was even in the match.
Right. We didn't know officially if he was in the match. So to go back to what we're saying here, Greg Lovelady predicted correctly the winner of the Royal Rumble in 2019, and then had a surprise pick in 2020, which not only returned, but almost won it as well. So Greg Lovelady is prescient with wrestling picks.
Does that mean you're the Edge of UCF media because you took a sabbatical like Edge did? Was it? I don't know if it was 9 years. Was it? How long was your break from?
It was 7 years. Oh no, it was like 8 years. Yeah.
You're pretty close. You're like Edge. You took out, you left, you went out of town, and now you're back. I mean.
Wow. I would make so many wrestling puns here, but I'm pretty sure that no one would get them on this podcast.
By the way, how funny, like, talking about WrestleMania 30, how many things have changed since then? Like, The Undertaker, I mean, it was in the main event of that match, and we thought, oh, wow, that's his last match.
We talked about it in the interview.
Yeah.
We talked about how crazy that was just to see the spectacle. And then, well, what do you think? What do you think about, is he really gone? Is he really gone? And because certainly if you were there in the building at WrestleMania
felt that way.
In 2017, it certainly seemed like he was gone. And then, well, he wasn't.
No, he came back with this whole John, and we talked about the John Cena thing, which was weird, and it was. He literally showed up the following year in 2018 in Mania and squashed John Cena like in a minute. It was still to this day makes no sense. And oh, by the way, Undertaker's in this card this weekend, so go figure. Like you've said it to me, you've done it very well, artistically, very well. That WrestleMania has not aged well. We felt very misled. Look at when we were there in the building. Oh, that's a great show. But then as time moved on, a lot of stuff there. Like we thought that was supposed to be Goldberg's last match. He's on this card too this year as the champ. Supposed to be Taker's last match. I mean, yeah.
Those who are listening probably know that ESPN has been re-airing old WrestleMania, not old, like recent WrestleManias. And I understand why they haven't picked WrestleMania 33 because it wasn't that great. I mean, there's some fantastic moments. I mean, when the Hardy Boys came back, it was absolutely euphoric. But there were some pretty like just not very compelling matches. There were a couple matches where the crowd just checked out. A couple other matches that were just not very good. That also, from where I was sitting, which I was kind of on the right side of the ramp, there was a light in our faces for the entire night that they would not turn off. Oh my God, it was blinding. So no, it wasn't a great WrestleMania, but at least like he says, being there is the point. It's not about the event. It's about being there in the spectacle with the crowd, and it was absolutely electric.
And that turned out to be part of a great year in Greg Lovelady, not only obviously going to his first WrestleMania, but as we would know, Murph, from that point on, UCF baseball got better and better as the year went on and would go on to win the American Conference regular season baseball championship. A team that was picked near the bottom in the preseason poll would go on to win. It came down to the last weekend against South Florida, and they beat them.
I think they were picked at the bottom. I think they were
might have been.
Preseason.
And they win the regular season championship, the first conference championship that UCF baseball has won. I think had won since 04, 03 when they were in the A-Sundays. Going that far back. And they got to the NCAA tournament for the first time since UCF made the tournament since 2012. So 2017 was a pretty special year for Greg Lovelady in his first year here at UCF. And, of course, not only with on the field at baseball, but off the field going to WrestleMania for the first time.
Absolutely. And, if you had told them that WrestleMania would be here in Orlando in 2020 and said that his baseball team would have gotten off to a 15-3 start and swept Auburn, you would have thought, wow, 2020 is going to be an even better year. Except it's totally not.
No, it's not. It is what it is. But, could that be an omen for future years when WrestleMania is in Florida? That's good news for UCF baseball. Could I spin it that way? Like maybe Florida gets WrestleMania next year as a make good or something? I don't know. I'm just saying.
Where do we know what WrestleMania is in 2021?
Oh, you're going to make me look as I record. Beautiful.
I'll look.
Go ahead. Look at that up. Go ahead.
This podcast. Oh, it's in LA. Oh, my God.
Oh, you're old. Well, maybe you could convince him. Maybe he could schedule he did play CSUN, Cal State Northridge this past season. Maybe they go up to Northridge on the weekend of WrestleMania. I don't know.
Do they not have a home and home with CSUN?
You're asking the wrong guy. Greg would know better than I would. I don't know if they do or don't. Now, he mentioned in the interview, he wears a wrestling shirt on Sundays, correct?
Yes, Sunday home games.
Do you think he does that this weekend?
Oh, he'll definitely be wearing something. This is a guy who like we said, not just with the wrestling T-shirt every Sunday, but something you didn't hear in the interview was there was a time. The interview ran much longer than you guys got to hear because after we stopped recording, he would basically go online and he would show us the wrestling shirts that he's already bought and then the shirts that he's looking to buy. And that doesn't really come across well on an audio medium. But no, the man owns lots of shirts. And for WrestleMania weekend, you have to imagine he'll be wearing something. I would imagine it'd be probably Stone Cold's shirt.
Well, the question is going to be, it's a 2-night event, not one night. So do you wear 2 different wrestling shirts? Like wear one Saturday? Like that's what I'm debating right now. What I'm going to do, I might go Austin shirt Saturday, Taker Sunday. But the problem is I don't know which day is the Undertaker match. I don't know. Well,
how have they not told us what matches are on which days?
I'll tell you, props to them, though. They've done a heck of a job keeping this because they taped WrestleMania a week ago. Because of obviously with the shutdowns and stay-home orders and things like that, nobody's been able to leak the results to this point.
Yeah, that's true.
Pretty impressive. And apparently they recorded 2 different finishes for every match for that reason. So that way, they have flexibility. It's kind of wild. By the way, Rob Gronkowski hosting WrestleMania, who was at WrestleMania 33 with all of us and interfered in the Andre the Giant Battle Royal back then.
Sure did.
It's kind of spooky.
He sure did.
Spooky how many guys are still involved that were in that show and are in this show. But
all the connections.
All the connections. Well, we hope you enjoyed it. It's a little lighthearted episode, but we figure with WrestleMania weekend, try to kind of give you entertainment. And with Greg there, and obviously he'll be watching with the family, and you and I will be watching it, Murph. So we'll try to enjoy it. Who knows what to expect on that show, but it should be fun. Hopefully it'll be fun. We'll see. Distract us a little bit. Entertain it. Maybe we'll be surprised. Might be better than we think.
It's going to be weird. It's going to be weird.
It's definitely going to be weird. But we hope you've enjoyed this edition of the UCF Rewind. Our next episode, we're going to go back on the field. The UCF War and I 4, UCF South Florida 2017. Murph, you and I were in the press box, a very packed press box for that, I might add, which we'll discuss among many of the storylines that game had going into that game and during the game. The Knights and the Bulls. Look for that in our future episode of our UCF Rewind Black and Gold Banneret podcast. Of course, we did one on UCF Duke basketball recently. You could check that out. And then, Murph, tell the audience where they can read your article on Greg Lovelady's WrestleMania, because that's obviously part of the premise of this episode.
Yeah. We just put it back up there on the side to the front. You can see it on Black and Gold Banneret. It's Greg Lovelady's Road to WrestleMania from 2018. And you can just basically read my feature on Greg Lovelady and his love for wrestling.
And you're going to have one in the future, too, because you spoke to him about a lot of different things recently, not wrestling, that you're working on as well.
Like I said, I talked to Greg about baseball and this season that was abruptly, obviously cut short, about that a couple of weeks ago. And I'm going to include that in a larger article once I get to talk to some UCF players, which I'm currently in the process of trying to wrangle and sort of get planned. But once I talk to some players and Lovelady, I think again as well, I'm talking to him again soon. Once all those things happen, I will have something else out about UCF baseball and sort of reacting not only to the end of the season and sort of the disappointment of just having the season cut short, but also the reaction to the D1 Council, as we talked about in the previous podcast. D1 Council's decision to give everyone an extra year of eligibility.
Yeah, that'll be fascinating reaction there. And, of course, you'll probably get his reaction on WrestleMania then. So that'll be great. All right, Brian, that'll do it. For Brian Murphy, I'm Eric Lopez. We hope you've enjoyed this edition of the Black and Gold Banneret podcast, UCF Rewind.